Going home with y'all.
I don't show online on purpose because most people should not see that stuff, right? It's select people. I've actually had like special operations people training with me in my studio, and they get stuff that nobody else gets. You might have it, you might share it with the world, but I'm not interested in sharing it with everybody on YouTube. So I'll show you something else, okay? Here, payong. Everybody knows payong, right? Umbrella, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3. But a lot of people will change payong and make it as simple as possible or easy for them, right here. And then it's turning into what I would call a roof block or a wing. You got this high wing, and all it's doing is moving in front of you. Because it's so fast, you can do your payong really fast, right? Just like that. Problem with that is that if you do this for the rest of your life or the rest of your practice, your shoulder is never going to develop. Part of martial arts is to develop your mind and body. And if you're not moving in ways consistently that allow for a full range of motion in your shoulders, you'll never be able to lift your hand above your shoulders. Like my teacher, Guro Dan, would teach payong like this. That's payong. I'll get it in a second stick. I know you're tracking, I'm sorry. But here, from Heaven's Umbrella 6, he would do that. There. And then, all of a sudden the whole school's doing that. Did you ask why you're doing that? Why are you doing it that way? Why does he do that way? He literally said it in class that he can't get his hand over his shoulder now. He's in his 80s. So why are you doing it like an 80-year-old man? Unless you're an 80-year-old man with a frozen shoulder. So, full range of motion so you don't become an 80-year-old man with a frozen shoulder. Get that arm over your head. Get that bicep to your ear so you know if you can touch your bicep to your ear, you should not be able to move that shoulder any further, right? Unless you do this, and that's a stupid looking payong, right? You're going to here. It's not all about smashing someone in the skull and causing injury. It's about healing yourself, making you stronger, more mobile, so you can live longer, have a happier life, and lift your grandkids up off the ground when you're that age, right? So look at what you're doing, look at how your teacher does it, and then ask, why are they doing it this way? Ask them, why? And then can you do it a different way that is more beneficial for you? Well, I like to teach it full range of motion, and I'll say this is for building range of motion. You can shorten it if you want to, right? Don't even move past your head. Keep it low. It doesn't matter really, so long as it works for the purpose. If the purpose is just to hit something. But if you're gonna do thousands of these over and over again, and you don't build that strength and that mobility in your shoulders, you're gonna pay a price you didn't want to pay in the first place. Salamat. I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. That's 4 hours north of Fargo, North Dakota. And I like to tell people it's also 4 hours colder than Fargo, North Dakota. It's pretty gnarly there in the winter times. I moved here with my wife over close to 20 years ago, and we've been up and down the coast, but recently stayed here for the past 15 years. So we're Los Angelinos now with our 2 kids. Wow, I live in Culver City, so I have a program, a kids program there for Kali. Used to be a karate program, but now it's Kali. Our headquarters is here in Torrance, which is our studio. And then we have a new studio or program in Bixby Knolls in Long Beach. So based, it's like all over the city. Of course, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. Right? And then Jet Li came out in the 90s, and at least came to America in the 90s with Lethal Weapon, and really got into that. So those 3, they're all Chinese, they're not American even, but except for Bruce Lee. And then Ernie Reyes Jr. and Dante Basco. Those 2, for sure. I started training in FMA specifically over 10 years ago with Guro Dan Inosanto at the Inosanto Academy. And I'm currently training with Guro Mark Makita at the Makita School of Martial Arts. The styles, you know, it's Guro Dan stuff. It's a blend of everything and whatever you can find that works, that you feel works for you. It's even on his instructor certificates, because I was certified as an instructor at the Inosanto Academy, and I taught there as well. We can teach anything we like, so there's no style. And that's how it is right now with Guro Mark. It's about taking something and seeing if it works, and testing it, challenging every assumption you make, and see if you can find the habits that don't work for you anymore and break free of those, so that you're ultimately an artist, someone who's creating in the moment, not practicing a style per se, or practicing a specific flow or drill pattern, because the drill pattern is just there to move your body and learn from, but you're not going to fight with a drill, are you? You got to test it. You got to take pieces of that and make that work. So there's no style. It's just my expression of myself, and tools and ways of moving and techniques that I can share with the students and have them test it for themselves. So ultimately, they're teaching themselves with my guidance, of course. But I'm not here to teach anybody, really. I'm here to show you a way. Most memorable moments at the Inosanto Academy are when Guro Dan came up once and said, "Alvin, you're looking good at everything," it's such a nice compliment to hear it from him himself, and saying, you know, keep going, keep doing that. And that was early on when I was just learning, and it was very encouraging, because Guro Dan is incredibly compassionate, especially with beginners. And then after a long time, it took me 8 years before Guro Dan presented me with black belt and said, "Now you look Filipino." Literally said that. So most of my training before that was karate and other martial arts, and I'd actually been training in karate with Lyoto Machida and Shinzo Machida at the same time as training in FMA. And I think that was getting in the way of the Filipino flow and the fluidity of what FMA practitioners recognize as how we move. Because he literally said, you look so Japanese for a long time, now it's Filipino, and I got it, I understood. Because actually, for the few years before that, I started learning Filipino dance. I started learning Pangalay from the southern Philippines, and learning how to be more fluid and more connected to my heritage. And that is now my current mission, is to share the heritage of our culture and the treasures of our culture through the martial arts. My motivation for teaching youth is to empower them with a sense of connection to their ancestry, no matter what, even if they're not Filipino, if they are Filipino, especially if they're Filipino, is to help them see where they come from and know that they're not alone. Even here as American Filipinos, they have a lineage, they have heritage. I tell the students that your culture is a treasure you carry with you, and you can't keep it inside of you. You can't hide it. It becomes more valuable when you share it, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm sharing the culture. I'm showing them Filipino dances and seeing the relationship in footwork. I'm showing them food and clothing and the diversity of Filipino cultures. Not just, Luzon, not just Manila, or what we understand as Filipino-ness. It's incredibly diverse and rich in history that we can connect to here, and know that our martial arts reaches far back into our warrior ancestors, and we can wake that up and say, look, we're going to establish boundaries, right, with our friends, even with family, with our society and what we're being taught, and say, this is where I stand. I've got the strength, I've got the training, I've got the tools to protect myself, and I will protect those I love. And this is where the Filipino martial arts comes in, right? We teach them how to utilize their environments. Everything you can put in your hand, everything around you can be a resource for protecting yourself, for feeding yourself, for enriching your life. How do you think you're able to do this now? because you've done it hundreds, if not thousands of times in the time you've been training. That's how you get good at something. Then you challenge yourself, and your mind works in wonderful ways. You'll be able to make adjustments on the fly if you've mastered it. And the point of training in a martial art, or in anything, in ballet and figure skating, is to understand the path to mastery. Dedication, sacrifice. Giving up things you think are good or fun, or treats, days that not very fun, to show up to train. Things like that. A commitment to your excellence means you will be excellent at this one thing. And if you know how to get excellent at this one thing, you can be excellent at other things. Anything. It's the path to excellence. Commitment. Oh, you're both showing that. Very good. Let's give them a round of applause. Very impressive. What technique am I most well known for? Well, I'm very good at doing the splits. I'm just born that way, stretchy, that's it. And then when I do that in front of the students when we're warming up or stretching, I say, don't do what I do. I was born that way. I'm a genetic freak. So technique doesn't matter in terms of what we're teaching, so long as you're not stuck to it, right? If you're locked into this idea, this one thing can defense, no such thing. The technique is important when you think about it as, how do I understand how I'm moving, right? And is this going to work? Can I hit them? Can they hit me back? Can they stop me from hitting them? You ask those questions, and then the technique changes in that moment. And then they do something else. And then you have to change your technique. So techniques is an interesting question. But if I go back to me being able to do the splits, that says that I can do certain things that other people can't. And I will do things that other people shouldn't do, right? So when I do my little show in seminar or in class, if I do a Silat kick or aerial kick off the ground, big round kick, you've seen that in capoeira, you'll see it in Silat. That's something I'll show as a possibility, because I can do it. Now you know it's possible. It's your job to figure it out if you want to do it. But you don't have to, right? You don't have to. So that's technique. So if I've contributed anything to the style, as anybody seems to think there is a style here at Pamana, because I've been asked, what style are we learning here? It's like, there's no style. I'm learning from other people in their way of what they've learned, and I'm passing it on from how I've understood it or how I understand it currently, and I may understand it better as I continue to train and study, and I'll change how I teach it or what I teach as I hopefully mature and understand even more, right? So I continue to be a student. So that's the contribution I'm making, in that I continue to be a student. Nothing is locked in, nothing is in stone. None of the forms, because I'll call it a form, right? Just if you do angle 1, angle 2, there's your X. That's a form if you're doing it to the air. But how are you doing angle 1, angle 2? What is the purpose? You have to have intention first, and then it's going to change how you're doing angle 1, angle 2. Is one a block and one a strike? Are both blocks? Are both strikes? Are you being hit in the head right now while you're doing angle 1, angle 2? You're changing it. So it's no longer a style. It's just two movements. It's inward, outward. So that's the contribution. It's the idea that you have to break away from it, break it down and study it, and then test it as hard as you can. Train hard and test it. Put yourself as close to danger as possible with the right safety parameters. Helmets, gloves, whatever necessary. Control in power, control in speed, and then respect, right? So that's my hope, is that is the contribution I make here at my school and with my students, because that's the contribution that was provided to me from my current teacher, Guro Makita. Constantly challenges me. He'll tell me, he's being a bastard about this. I want you to get this right. And nobody has challenged me that way ever in my life, to say, Alvin, this is not working. You just got hit in the head 5 times in a row. Why? You've been doing this a long time. I said, yes. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm training, so I can have that happen 4 times in a row. and then tomorrow 3 times, and hopefully one day I can stop it on the first shot. How am I propagating the style? Again, I'm trying to not propagate a style, mostly trying to propagate a method of training. That's it. Come in, be diligent, be respectful, acknowledge the history and the culture of the space that you're in. Be connected to the people you're training with. Have a relationship with them in that you are here to learn and you're here to help others get better and help them learn. That's what we're propagating here. Beyond that, I acknowledge all my sources. Like an academic, I'll tell people as much as I can remember on the fly. If I'm teaching something, I'll say, this one I got from Guro Dan, and then I'll say how I've changed it, and I'll say how he taught it, if I can, to me, and then I'll say how I'm teaching it to them, because ultimately it's going to be different. I don't teach the way my teacher teaches, but I do take, hopefully, the spirit and the essence of what he is teaching, and I try to translate it through me, because that's the best I can do. Right? He doesn't, Guro Dan or Guru Mark or any of my teachers ever wanted a clone, and I don't want clones of me here either. No one is me here. I'm probably the shortest person here, so they shouldn't fight like me. So the contribution I hope to make in terms of that propagation of style is to say, this is the source. These are my sources. If you want to train with them, go now while they're here with us, while they're still teaching. Do that. If you want to train with me, stick with it. Commit. Don't give up. And then when you're done training with me, expand. Go. Learn some new things. Change what I've taught you to suit you and to suit your students, so long as you maintain this commitment to improving things and to making things as good as it can be. Not copying what you learned and repeating it. Don't be a parrot. Don't be a carbon copy of anybody. Be you. We currently don't certify people as instructors under Pamana Kali. Mostly because we're relatively new and that we've been around maybe 4 years. But people have been asking. They've been coming to me. They've been training a long time. Some people 20 years in the arts. And they don't feel like they have any authority or any security to teach what they know because their teacher didn't give them that authority. So I can see a need, and that for me, if you come to me and ask that question, I'll tell you, 1, you have to become a student, you have to train. And 2, you're going to have to learn a very specific set curriculum as a basic curriculum and say, hey, these are the fundamentals and this is how we teach it. And it's the same as everybody else, right? A punch is a punch, a kick is a kick, angle 1 is angle 1, angle 2 is angle 2 everywhere for the most part. And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a curriculum. So if we certify you, you're certified to share this curriculum with our banner and our support. But beyond that, we want to make sure that you're vetted as a person, that you're honorable, that you're respected in your community, that you are leading by example to be the healthiest and the best ways all around, right? Because people are coming to learn from you. A martial art is that. They're looking for discipline from you. They're not looking for someone who's going to get overweight and get out of shape and drink and get lost in, all the traumas of their lives. They're coming to you to grow from that. So if you're going to get certified, which is what we're doing, we're organizing a curriculum, we're organizing a certification process where you are being vetted through us, that you're training with us, that you are going to reach certain set standards. And once we understand that you've reached those standards, you've passed those standards, then you can go and say that you're teaching under our banner with our support. Your students can wear our shirts, and you can wear our shirt. You can even have a certificate if you want, but it really doesn't matter. That's the fact. If you are someone who cares about what you do and someone who has some level of skill that you want to share with others, just go start sharing that and say, hey, this is what I learned from my teacher and I need someone to practice with, so I'm going to teach you if you would like to learn. And that's how you start teaching. That's how our manos did it, and that's how our grandparents did it. They taught in their backyards to their kids and their grandkids. Did they have certificates? Did they get a certification from an organization? Doesn't matter, really. But if it matters to you, you can get one here if you want. But it's going to be work. It's going to have standards. Yeah, it's not just send in your check and here's your certificate. I see Pamana Kali being a worldwide, having a worldwide presence online and with instructors around the world, because what we're trying to offer is an opportunity to share the art. My goal in life is to make Kali, Eskrima, Arnis a household name worldwide, the way people know what karate, kung fu, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, those 4 arts, you can say that and most people will have an idea of what that is. If you say Kali, in LA, it's getting known. In some places in the country, yes. But I want that worldwide. I want everybody to know that it comes from the Philippines, how it originated in the jungles of the Philippines, and that it was never really a system, it was something passed on as to how you survived in a battle from your grandparents, from your parents, and to their children, to their children's children, and to their neighbors and friends. But now it's being shared in schools, it's being shared in a sort of a Western educational method. So with that method, there should be levels of history, education, and culture. So if you get certified with Pamana Kali, you're getting a package of education of the lineage, you're getting stories of where the art comes from, you're learning about culture, dance, music, art, and how all of that connects to what we do as martial artists. Because yes, it's an art at some level, yeah? Not just bakbakan or street fighting, but also know that if you're training with us, you know how to throw down. Yeah? You'll know how to survive. We survived the lockdowns during COVID in 2020, 2021 because we committed to thriving in adversity. Those are the words I use. We will thrive through adversity. We're not just going to survive, we're actually going to do better because we're going to work our tails off. We're going to pivot. We're going to change how we do things. We're not going to hold on to the old way of doing things because all of that was out the window. And I have to give credit to my kids, my daughter and my son, who became my assistant instructors online. Right. As soon as we shut down the schools, March 14th, 2020, I sent a message to everyone, don't come to class. We're shutting everything down because of COVID. And we did that, 3 days before the city did, right? I knew it was coming and I said, we gotta keep everybody safe. And then we figured it out. We took our first class, the first lesson we taught was then in 2 days, we took the iPad and we streamed live on Instagram. Did a live Instagram feed to all the kids who had access to Instagram. We had 20 kids training with us online. Just with one device, I leaned it up against the wall and we taught class. Me, my son, my daughter, the 3 of us. And from there, we got 2 iPads and then iPad and an iPhone, and we taped it to a ladder. And the one iPad was a monitor for the class, so I could see the class. The other iPad was a monitor for us, so we could see what we were doing in a bigger screen. And then the phone was what we were streaming to live to the world. And that seemed to work for a while, right? Because we were working with what we had, and that's how Filipinos do it, right? We know how to survive because we take what we've got, we make it better, we make it work until we've got more, until we know more, then we do more, and we do better. So I invested in technology. I didn't even have a loan yet. I poured money into it and went into debt for it. Got new phones, got new cameras, I got new computer, and then everything started working. We got on Zoom. I subscribed to Zoom. I paid for music licenses or subscriptions to iTunes so that we could have music while we trained. And then we expanded by bringing back some of our instructors. And I supervised class while the instructor taught from their living room. I was the producer on my computer from my living room. So I would run music, I would switch cameras to focus or zoom, pin students who would demonstrate and pin back or spotlight the instructor. So we changed the format completely, and I told everybody, okay, all the instructors, okay, listen, this is not a class, this is a show. And we need to make sure that we entertain, educate, and inspire the students to come back and train every single class. If we're not inspiring, if we're not educating, if we're not entertaining, all three in one class, we're not doing our job. So that was the vision. So 5 minutes before class starts, you'd hear 5 minutes to showtime. That's how we prepared our minds, so that we could engage the students on a screen, not in person. We couldn't make contact with them anymore. I tried doing that with 20 kids, like 3 days a week, 4 days a week, for 2 years straight. That was hard. And then we got out to the beach. That saved us big time. We trained on the beach in the beautiful sunshine. We got to see each other, and we were safer from the virus at that point because the sun and the air, and everybody felt better. We were building our immune systems by, getting that endorphin kick from seeing each other again. They all still wore the masks on the beach, but we did what we could. And then I was very lucky to have help from the small business admin and the IEDLs, all the loans that were coming in. They're still loans, right? They have to be paid back, but thank goodness for that, because we've survived, and not just survived, we've actually doubled our student body. We've improved our facility. While we shut down, I tore everything out, and then we renovated and made the space the way I really wanted it to be. I wanted people to walk in here and think, Bahay Kubo. I wanted them to feel like this is not an MMA gym. This is something different. This is a cultural space. But this is also a place where you're going to get sweaty, you're going to throw down, you're going to learn how to protect yourself and protect others. What do I do outside of the martial arts? Well, most of the things I do outside of the martial arts connect back to the martial arts. Because I spent most of my life trying to make things synchronous, to make things work together instead of compartmentalizing my life. But it may appear it's compartmentalized, like my singing lessons. I actually take singing lessons with a teacher all the way in Australia. So she's an old friend of mine, and she's a professional performer and singer and singing instructor. So I meet with her online on Zoom, and it seems to work out nicely because I get to see her all the way in Australia, and I get to bring back my singing. I used to be a musical theater actor, a performer on stage. I used to audition for film and television, and it's actually slowly coming back because of the commitment I've made to training in the martial arts and being out front in the public through my efforts in demonstrating at special events, plus my connection with FMA Arts, which I am now the chairperson on the board of the nonprofit. And our mission is to elevate and amplify the voice of Filipino American artists around the world now, not just in Los Angeles. We are committing to growing that voice and having more representation in television, film, music, visual arts, dance, theater, anywhere a Filipino American or Filipino is, and they're struggling to find their voice and they're struggling to become a professional in the arts. That's where we are. We're trying to get you there. We're trying to be there as a resource for you. So that's what's I'm so passionate about, in that there aren't as many Filipinos practicing Filipino martial arts as you think. There are way more non-Filipinos worldwide practicing these arts. Eskrima, Arnis, Kali, whatever we call it, there's less of us. And as it grows, because that's actually my hope, it grows worldwide and everybody knows about it, it will likely lose its connection to the heritage and the history, right? To the people who actually used it for their survival in the jungles of the Philippines, to the Manos here on the west coast of California who went to war with the Laging Una for fighting 1st Battalion, Filipino Battalion, the Bolo Brigade. If that history is lost, what do you have left? You have people wearing Filipino-like uniforms, saying Filipino-like words, doing martial arts that comes from us, but no real understanding of where it comes from, and honor and elevating the people it came from, right? So that FMA Arts is part of that mission of bringing Filipino martial arts to the world in a way that is authentic to where it comes from, is connected to its heritage and its heart, and to honor the people that brought it to the world. Yeah. The other part of me is, like, I was an actor. I came here 20 years ago to be bad guy number 4 who gets killed by Jean-Claude Van Damme. If 4 times, whatever it took to get on direct-to-video martial arts. And that went away after we had kids, and I committed more into teaching and training. But now that's coming back, because now I'm being called on to teach actual movie stars and prepare them for the movies right now. And I can't say on camera who I'm training, but movies are coming out in the next year that I've had the honor of sharing the Filipino martial arts with to these actors and preparing them for their roles. And however it looks on screen, you'll know at the very least that we had a contribution. Our people, our culture had a contribution to Hollywood and thus the world's idea of what fighting looks like, no matter where it goes. I've been very privileged to live in Los Angeles, in the heart of Hollywood, to have trained in a place where Hollywood actors and movie stars have come through to train and prepare for their roles. The closest I've got while I was training, while I was learning the art, was sitting right beside Chadwick Boseman, bless his soul. While he was learning at the academy, learning Silat and Kali. And at that time they had just released 42, the baseball movie, right, about Jackie Robinson. And he hadn't gotten Black Panther yet, or at least nobody knew that. And then later on we find out he's doing Black Panther. And some of my friends got to train with him in like backyard style training with one of my private instructors, Guro Victor Gendrano. Took him under his wing and taught him sword and shield, which you saw in the movie Black Panther. I trained closely with stunt people like Lauren Mary Kim, because she's a dedicated martial artist, and didn't train her myself, but I've had so many great memories of training with such dedicated, hard-working professionals. We've had Jessie Graff come through our studio, who is the American Ninja Warrior champion, first woman to finish that competition, and she studied with us just briefly, but I know her and I can call her up and offer her martial arts training if she ever needs it. And then there's a stunt woman I'm currently training. She's half Filipina, and she's working on film and television right now, and she comes to me and she trains with me privately, mostly because it's her heritage, and that I'm very honored to know that she comes to me because of that. Not just because it'll benefit her work, but because it helps her stay connected to her heritage, to her lineage, to her mother. Let's see here, anything in the past? I mean, beyond that, just training on the floor with people and seeing them come through the Inosanto Academy is a big deal for me, right? Currently training 2 massive stars right now, and I want to make sure that I keep that off of camera for sure, but it's huge for me. I'm so grateful to have been in the environment where I can have that opportunity, where someone will look at me and say, Alvin, I need you for this, and can you train this person for this role? I do train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with my teacher, Professor Hugh Fitzgerald, at a place called 87 North. I used to train at 8711 Action Design, and it was strictly for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but building my reputation there as a martial artist, as someone who just wants to train, gave me the opportunity to train with other stunt people who actually do this for a living, because I don't really want to be a stuntman, really. I just want to train with people who are committed to the art and to learning. And all of those guys, they're welcome to train here anytime. I've always told Professor Hugh that any of his students are welcome to train with me here. So that's the past. That's the present now. Who knows where it goes? I'm actually considering making movies myself, and just because I want to, just because I want to be creative, and I'm here. I've got people who can do it, who can film, who can shoot, who can edit, and who can fight on camera, who can act and direct. So who knows what comes out of this? So this is coming from the Inosanto Academy, from Guro Dan, and that it's just basic movements, inward, or outward, or forehand, backhand, but it's similar to Siniwali, right? And he calls it the matrix. And what we do here is we start with kab, inward, 3 shots, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, starting from the left and starting from the right, and you alternate left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, or the other way around. So that's simple, right? Kap kap, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we start to change one variable. We're going to change the last movement. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inward, inward, outward, inward, inward, outward. And then we change the middle variable, which a lot of people already know, which is heaven 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inward, outward, outward, inward, outward, outward. And then we do umbrella, payong, inward, outward, inward, inward, outward, inward. Those are the 4 variables we're looking at, right? So that's the last 2 are very familiar to everybody, but the ones that aren't, or like this crossover in front, we're doing backhand, 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 or outward, 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 and then outward, outward, inward, outward, outward, inward, and then outward, inward, inward, outward, inward, inward, and then outward, inward, outward, inward, outward, inward, outward. And that's all in my brain because I've done it so many times, and it looks complicated to new people, but eventually when you can see the patterns and how things work, you can start to see the patterns in everything, which is why I believe this kind of training is really valuable. It helps you learn other things. So that, so long as you're not looking at this, what we're just doing now, as the thing, as if I master this, I know Kali. No, you don't, you know a drill. You're very good at this drill, you can make it look good. But most of this is not functional in a fight, and you're not going to get all 6 shots. You're going to get 1 or 2, tops 3. At the very longest you should last is 3 strikes, right? Technically, it's like hit them. That's all you care about, right? So that's the matrix. Really simple. If you saw what I did, I'm not going to break it down for you now. You know, you can rewind it, play it back, watch YouTube over and over again if you like, or train with Guro Dan, where I got it from, or train with me, or anybody else that knows this. And Filipino martial arts is not purely Filipino ever, because there's no such thing as a pure Filipino, right? The Filipinos, the Tausug in the southern Philippines, the Guinanao, are they the same as the Igorot or the Kalinga, or the people who live in Luzon or in Manila? They're not the same. They're not the same. So all of what we do here in the United States is not the same as what they're doing in the Philippines. It's not what they do. And they say it, and we should respect that. We should say, what we do is American Filipino martial arts. Because it came from here, it's blended with our mindset, our educational standards, and how we do things, how we teach. Also the influences and resources that we have. If you look at Stockton, California, where Guro Dan grew up, you know, as a child, and then when he started learning with Manong Leo Hiron, they had a specific length stick, right? Well, why is their stick that length? I spoke to Jam Michael Hiron directly, and he told me, he said it was because that's what's available at the hardware store. So, is that Filipino? Is that length Filipino? No, it's American. It's whatever was at the hardware store. Because they didn't have rattan at that time. You couldn't get it from the Philippines, you couldn't get it from Indonesia or China. The way we do now, we just hit a button on our phone and you can order rattan. It's harder to get, it's more expensive, but you can still get it. Back then, hardware store. Not Filipino, but it is Filipino martial arts. It's Filipino-American martial arts. And sometimes I like to say that. Our source is American, and it's Filipino. And the question about cultural appropriation is very important in that you must give credit to the source, and then you're not appropriating so much. You're not taking it and saying we're better the way we do it, and this is how to do Filipino martial arts better. We're saying this is different. This is from our perspective. Because our brothers and sisters in the Philippines will look at us and say we're appropriating culture. Or they think they're more Filipino than us. We live here. We live day to day under these circumstances. We don't live the way they do. We have far more privileges. Most Filipinos in the Philippines can't practice martial arts because they can't afford to. we have that privilege now. We can send our kids to it. In fact, parents are bringing their kids to me so that they can learn some language, they can learn connection to their culture and their heritage, because they were told not to. Or being, children of immigrants, or being an immigrant themselves like I am, I pushed it away for a long time because I wanted to fit in. So now bringing it back, you have to do it in a very mindful way and saying, okay, I'm learning from educational resources. Like I'll go online to the universities in the Philippines, or I'll find culture bearers from the Philippines to find out what they're doing there. And then I compare it to what we're doing here. And I say, well, our expression is different, yes, but we can learn some more from that. We must continue that line, that thread to the Philippines in order to not allow our martial art be devoid of its heritage, its history, and its roots. Walang ugat. If you don't have roots, you can't grow. It will die right there, and it should die, right? The art should die right there until it can regrow its roots. The way many arts have done so far from a different culture have become Americanized, and they act like it's better here. But it's just a different thing. It's not better, right? It's a whole new thing. But you should acknowledge that. You should just say, this is American martial art, much the way boxing is here, the way MMA is. MMA, it's American. It was born here in this current format, right? People have been doing MMA for a long time. Filipinos have been doing MMA before MMA, because FMA is the original. I will take whatever I can and make it work, and I don't care about the style, so long as I can protect myself and I can protect my family. If I learned it from a Jesuit priest at the missions in the Philippines, if I learned it from a French revolutionary in the prison, like Saavedra, right? If I learned it from an old man, a tall old man who traveled to the south, it doesn't matter. That's mixing it all up, right? And that's the heritage of Filipino martial arts. But to prevent yourself from being a colonizer in your own art is to say, I want you, as a student, I want to tell your students to continue their contact with the culture and to support the culture that brought it to you, brought that art to you. Go to the Philippines and don't be a tourist. Go to the Philippines and learn from the masters. Support them so that they don't die and be buried in unmarked graves, and take their wisdom and their knowledge and their treasures with them, right? And don't go to the Philippines to learn their art and then open up a school here and be a millionaire and forget all about your teachers, right? This is kapwa, this is family. It's part of our values is to support the elderly, to protect them, and to honor them. So our elders, our teachers, must be protected, must be supported, must be honored. Even if you disagree with what they do or they disagree with you, always be respectful and always be supportive. That's my take on cultural appropriation. Thank you. Who inspires me in the martial arts is, number one, Guro Dan Inosanto, for sure, absolutely. His impact on the world alone is mostly unknown as to how he's changed the lives of others and shared the Filipino martial arts in his way by training people like me or others in the film industry, and those people training stunt people and fight choreographers and actors. Filipino martial arts is in a lot of big Hollywood action films, and most people don't know it yet, but they will. He inspires me to share the culture and to tell the stories, to continue that practice of that oral tradition of storytelling from one generation to the next. Yeah? I also care that I can find sort of the academic practice of seeing the evidence, of writing things down or finding people who've written it down, and to challenge those assumptions, right? The way for a long time people said that the Ifugao rice terraces were 2,000 years old, and current archaeological research is saying they're about 400 years old, that's all. And why does that matter? Well, it's because the assumption that it was 2,000 years old said that it wasn't the Ifugao who created those rice terraces. How could they? They were so simple. Simple like, I don't know, mountain people. No way, right? the 400-year-old theory, based on like evidence, based on archaeological digs and carbon dating, and artifacts, says that the Ifugao did it. They actually went in, they hid in the mountains during Spanish colonization and said, no, not today, colonizer, we're going to be up here in the mountains, come and get us. And how did they survive? They built the rice terraces. They ate well, they were warriors, were healthy and well fed, and when the Spanish came, they ran through the mountains and hid because that was their mountain, and they fought them off. And the Spanish never colonized the Ifugao. That's why it counts, is that you need to go back to your understanding of your art, what you were told was your history. And I'll push back. I'll go say, okay, what did Guro Dan teach me? It was true for him, yeah, but is it true? Can I push back? Should I look at this? Can I look at this and say, what does this say about us, right? Are we actually growing from this? Are we learning? Is there evidence to show this, right? So you have to push back. You have to treat it like that. So that's what I'm inspired by Guro Dan. He actually found his way to be an academic about it, to give credit to his sources, and then to share it as widely as possible with the world. And then there's the iconoclast, Guru Mark Makita, my current teacher, who is really inspiring me to be my very best in all aspects of my life, right? Because to be the best in one aspect of your life and compartmentalize and to just be crap everywhere else is not sustainable. You have to connect everything, right? Have the one thing, and for me the one thing is martial arts. I care to be the best martial artist I can be overall, not just Filipino martial artists. So we question everything, we test everything, we go full power, full speed with things that we're assuming we can do, and we find out, I can't do it. I can't stop you from hitting me in the head with a stick. I just got hit 5 times in a row. Now I'm gonna figure out why, and then I'm gonna stop you from hitting me on the head with a stick. Then I'm gonna hit you back. That's a wonderful way of looking at it. So there's no style behind that, and that's what Guru Mark is teaching me. He's like, there's no freaking style here. We're just testing this. We need to know, and we're gonna do it in the safest way possible. We'll wear helmets, wear gloves, have parameters for what we're doing, and make sure that you know you can do it. And that's what inspires me beyond sharing the art and the history and sort of this very accessible way of teaching things to, there's very few people who want to train like this. And hopefully I can inspire more people to train like that, to say, yes, here's all this amazing stuff. It's fancy, it's exciting, it's great for movies too. But if you boil it down to what someone like Guru Mark is doing, this is the stuff that Grandpa would have taught you. He would have taken you in the backyard, picked up a stick, gave you a stick and said, block this. And if you didn't block it, you learned real fast. That's inspiring to me because it goes full circle. Why I want other people to learn that way is because it's a very healthy way of learning. Is to have a broad mindset, to say everybody can do this, and has something that there's something in it that is rewarding for them. Yeah, whether or not it's just sort of entertainment or something to do on a Tuesday night, to I need this for my work. I need this to save my life and to save my teens, right? I need to save lives with this. So there's something in it for everyone. Beyond that is to share my heritage and to say someone like me who was born in the Philippines to 2 teenage parents can actually live in Los Angeles and work with movie stars. Who knows where you can go? Doesn't matter where you started, yeah? It's up to you as to where you can go if you focus on the one thing, the thing you love the most, get so damn good at it, nothing else matters, and then everything opens up for you. So if you want to start in Filipino martial arts, go find a school near you, right? Because you're more likely to go there after work or after school. If it's close to you and close to home, you're likely to go there. And to me, really, so long as you're practicing it regularly and you're dedicated to your training and you're getting something out of it, it's worth doing. And then you'll discover whether or not, the school's culture, the people there fit for you. If it doesn't, then you find a place that does. And if you belong, if you feel a sense of belonging and you feel like you're getting what you want out of this, commit. Even if it's an hour drive. I have students that drive an hour away. I have students in Canada that will get online in the middle of the night for them sometimes, depending on the time change, and they will commit, and they're getting something out of it because they're dedicated. You have to learn how to commit to something. And that's what martial arts does. It teaches you that discipline, and if you can stick to it, it'll be vastly rewarding in all aspects of your life. How to stay with it, right? Well, you make a choice and you say, this is a top priority in my life. And you keep that promise. Because if you can keep a small promise like that, one promise to yourself, you can keep other promises to others, right? Because you know what you're about. When I was training at the academy, I trained 3 to 5 days a week for 3 to 5 hours a night. And I would bring my children with me. And I couldn't afford childcare, so they would sit in the back, and then my wife would pick them up midway through the classes, and I knew they were safe, but I kept my eye on them while I trained. I did whatever it took. And when you do that, you realize that you can apply that same idea to everything else in your life. Do whatever it takes. Know what it costs you in your life. Money, time, effort, sacrificing social life, sacrificing things, right? Living on someone's couch. Whatever it takes, do that, pay that price, and you will have what you're asking for. But if you try to negotiate, if you try to bargain the price, well, what if I could do this, part-time? You're not gonna get there. Not. And if part-time is enough for you, cool. Sort of slow path, cool. Because there's things in my life that I'm okay with because this is my one thing. The other stuff, that's part-time. Doesn't matter as much. Stick with it. You'll be rewarded the rest of your life. The Filipino Martial Arts Lifestyle is my Pamana, right? My inheritance. I got this from Guro Dan and from my heritage, and I'm passing it on to my children, and I hope they pass it on to others. If it's their children or the community, absolutely. All my students will pass it on. And they'll pass on the lessons of adaptability, of survival, of commitment to family and community, and enforcing your boundaries and saying when you are being oppressed, you stand up for yourself. And no matter what, no matter how long it takes, it might take 300 years and you have to train and prepare in secret at night in candlelight. But when the time is right, go. Right? Stand up to your oppressors. That's FMA Life. I hope my legacy in the martial arts is that anyone I've come in contact with, or anyone that has experienced anything that I've taught or shared with others, has had their life improved in some way. That's it. If I had a message for the FMA community, past or present, is to say, support each other, no matter what. Encourage each other to do well, and want everyone in this world, in this community, to have what they need and to be able to thrive and to succeed at what they're pursuing. Not to worry about students going from one place to another. It's a whole new world. YouTube has exposed everyone to everyone, and now we have an opportunity to learn in many ways and to discover people we never would have. So if a student of yours decides that this is not for me anymore, don't worry about it. There are 7 billion people on the planet. You might be able to find another student, that's for sure. And that student that has left you might have a better experience in their lives and enhance their lives by meeting someone new. I see it that way with my students. If I didn't provide them enough value, they don't need to be training with me. If I am no longer a right fit for them. So, wag kayo mag-alala, bahala na, right? Just support each other and do you. Be the best at what you do, and the people that are attracted to you, that vibe with you, that have the same sense of energy and community with you, they'll come. There's plenty for everyone. Here's a story. There's a 16-year-old girl in Makati, Philippines, met a 17-year-old or 18-year-old boy in Makati. Yeah. And the boy was, he dropped out of school in sixth grade and was hanging out with the Bahala Na gang in the Philippines. If you know who the Bahala Na are now, is like MX-13 here. Back then, they were just a bunch of stupid teenagers, you know, doing things like putting planks across the road during the monsoon so that people could walk over their bridge, but then on the other side, they charge them a toll, right? They fell in love and had a baby 6 months after they got married, right? So you do the math. And then they had an opportunity. Teenagers, 17-year-old girl now, with a baby, 19-year-old boy, kids, were told that here's an opportunity for you to go to Canada and to work in the textile industry, sewing jeans for Calvin Klein or whoever the company is paid to make pants for. And they did it, right? This was during Marcos era, when things were under martial law. I was just about to go down real hard over there in the Philippines. And they made it out, and they started a life in a whole new country. In the winters, it gets colder than Mars. These are two brown teenagers coming from tropical islands, now living with boots and parkas and making snowmen and throwing snowballs at their 1-year-old baby. Yeah? Maybe they waited till I was 3 before they threw a snowball at me. But that's where I come from. Yeah. Born in the Philippines, brought to Canada as an infant in the immigrant community of the north end of Winnipeg, of Manitoba, where most of the Filipinos were coming at the time. When we built a community there, we stuck together. My parents lived in one house with my uncles and my aunties and their uncles and aunties. There were a whole bunch of us in one place until they could afford to move into their own place with me and my baby brother. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, and by the time my sister was born, they sponsored my mother's parents and her brother and sister. So there were 7 of us, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. They scraped together all the resources to buy a house in the middle of, like, in the north end of Winnipeg, and this place was like, I remember when we moved in, the grass was this tall from the ground up to my chest. We had to cut down that grass. My grandfather had rebuilt everything from scraps, from, you know, those planks of wood, or scrap wood. Built a fence out of it. Whatever it took, they worked with what they had and made it better. And over time, we grew up. I moved to LA. My brother and my sister moved out and had their own families. They still have the same house I grew up in. And now they travel the world. They saved up all their money. They were young parents, and by the time they were young adults in their like 40s and maybe my age now, their kids were already grown up and gone. Not bad for 2 teenage parents, right? They didn't have higher aspirations for me than being a fridge repairman. Right, saying that, telling me that was the conversation I had with my dad after high school graduation. Says you should go to community college and learn fridge repair. All the fridge repairmen I know are really happy. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be an actor or a writer. So I scraped and I saved and I worked and I went to school. I got my bachelor's degree in theater part-time. It took me 10 years to do it. Right, and that tells me that whatever it is you want, doesn't matter how long it takes. Because it took me 8 years to get my black belt under Guro Dan, when some people did it in 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? I had a child by then. I had 2 children by the time I got my black belt under Guro Dan. I just kept going. So it's not about who gets there first. It's who is willing to stick to it, no matter how long it takes, or how hard it is, or what you have to sacrifice to make it happen. That's what it's all about. And it's not about the destination at the end of the day. A black belt doesn't mean anything. It's just a designation that I've been there long enough for Guro Dan to say, yeah, okay, now you got this. What what counts the most is who I've become. Am I a better person than I was when I first met him? Have I grown? Have I gained in skill? And now I'm starting my journey again and starting all over, really just looking at everything I know and starting from the beginning and saying, I'm throwing it all out and I'm looking at it from a different lens. Who knows what kind of person I'll be, like questioning everything and testing and challenging and then sharing that process with others. So don't worry about where you come from. Don't worry about where you're at now. Take what you've got, make it the best you can, and when you've got more, make it more and continue to grow. Salamat. I recently changed my entire life by changing my lifestyle and my mindset. Coming through COVID, right, it was very easy to just sort of reach for whatever it took to numb the pain, right? For me, it's a lot of food or just watching TV or entertaining just to avoid the worries and stresses of what's going on. But all my life, I've actually been like a husky boy, you know, like heavy. For my height, I shouldn't have been that heavy all the time. And it was a struggle because I love food and I love good food. I'm married to a woman who's an incredible cook and a baker, and she makes treats and it's all over the place. And my mom was just the same. She cooked. Oh, the food is amazing. I still love food. Here's the thing. Changing how I feed my mind and what I feed my mind changed what I fed my body. So I made a commitment to meditating and being present and then feeding my mind literally motivational videos every single morning. You'll hear my kids going, oh, there's the video again. I play it at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning as soon as I get up, and I listen to things that will fuel my day in the direction I want to go. I'm not doing it just out of habit. I'm just going to get up, drink my coffee, get in my car, go to work. No, I got to feed my mind first. And then I feed my body with movement. I train. We taught during COVID every single day. 7 days a week, I taught at 8 a.m. and we trained. We did a program I called Kali Hit. It was based on Silat and Kali movements, and we did a mobility program so that we could keep moving, keep ourselves healthy. But that all stemmed out of seeing my life differently, seeing who I was differently and telling a different story. No longer someone who reaches for food when they're bored or is willing to overindulge and reward myself because I feel like I deserve it, but food being fuel and looking for the very best fuel and the most high quality things I can put in my body and my mind at all times. That was the greatest challenge of my life, is to acknowledge that my life was not 100% satisfying, right? There's something I needed to change, and it required a mindset change. So something most people don't know about me is when my daughter was born, we were expecting only to have one child to be, you know, and that was it. That's all we wanted. We poured everything into it. So I stopped working full and committed to being a stay-at-home dad. And the challenge was I didn't know how to be a dad, right? I was a dude forever, married man, but not. And we were young, and I went to bars. We went to clubs together and did stuff. And then we had a baby. Everything changed, right? And the hardest part was understanding the amount of commitment it took and who I needed to be the best dad I could be in that time of my life, and now still. That all my pain and all my frustration came from the fact that I struggled, that I did not want to be that guy yet, right? I did not want to be a dad so much as that to be seen as one no longer like a virile, available man, or even though I was married, I was like, I still like the idea that people would be attracted to me, which is this is honest talk, right? I got this baby, a good-looking baby, and sort of the story in my head is, well, look, I can make good-looking babies, right? But then once that started dissipating, and me really committing to being the best dad I could be, I actually joined the Moms Club of Marina Del Rey and Buena Vista, and they took me in and said, okay, we'll have one dad. That's it. It's all women and all moms. And I joined the Moms Club with the play dates. We had the events, and I went to them because I saw a group of women and babies, and I had my 18-month-old baby with me. I said, what is this? There's like a play date for all these babies. This is cool. My baby needs friends. No, not really. I need people to be around because I haven't spoken to anybody but a 1-year-old all day long. I need other adults around me. And the only other adults available during the day who were not at work were moms. So I joined the Moms Club and I said, do you take dads? And the president of the club literally looked at me and said this, well, it would be illegal for us to say no. And then I looked at her and I said, where do I sign? And then I signed up right then and there. 2 years later, I was on the board of directors of the club. And I was their newsletter editor, and I produced their monthly newsletter with all the photos I took of all the kids, and they loved it because I was getting into photography and photo editing and design at that time. Because I had a lot of time on my hands and was able to buy the equipment, and I wanted to take thousands and thousands of photos of my baby girl. I literally have hundreds of thousands of photos of her at that age. But it changed my life because I decided to go and be present and to be the person I needed to be in that moment, not to think of who I used to be, right? In this moment, you have to become the person you want to be and you need to be to succeed in whatever you're doing. And as things change, as my kids get older, I'm changing too as a dad. I get to be a businessman. I get to be a martial arts instructor to the stars, and I get to do that. It's a privilege. But to get to do that, I now have to be the most disciplined martial artist I can be and be the best at what I do and to be connected in the community in a way that serves, that is of service. So no longer being a part of the Moms Club, but the same in that I was of service to the moms who helped me and taught me how to be a stay-at-home parent. And I'm so grateful for that because I didn't know how to be that because I didn't have that at home myself. I was a latchkey kid, had a shoelace and a key to their 2-bedroom apartment. I took my brother with me after school like in kindergarten, walked across the street, went home by ourselves and ate whatever mom left for us at the table or in the fridge. This is a different life. I get to be here for my kids and I get to do it the best way I can. So that's the story. Me and being the board of directors of the Moms Club of Marina Del Rey. So most of our students are kids, right? We specialize in kids. We have adults, of course. We teach a lot of adults. But the bulk of our program are children so that we can pass on the culture and history and heritage of the arts as well as practical self-defense along with the Kali. And how we approach self-defense is that we're always on the offense or we're doing counter-offense. We're not defending, and if it looks like we're defending, we're actually using it as offense. So our main tool for kids in schoolyards so that they don't get suspended is they're not throwing hands, they're not using their paluntukan, they're using their kalabaw horns. So Bruce, present your kalabaw horns right here. He's got horn number 1, horn number 2, and they can go either way, left and right, or straight down the middle, right, from there. And the more weighted you become, the more solid you are, because now you're going to use your legs and drive in. Kalabaws only move forward. They don't typically move backwards. They don't run backwards very well. And they don't go side to side, do they, Bruce? No. So when you got a big bully coming after you, they're going to likely throw big haymakers. If they're skilled, maybe down the middle. But for the most part, someone's going to grab at you or throw a hook at you. He puts up his kalabaw horns, ready to go, and he moves forward into the target. And he says,
"Oh, stop hitting me!"
Right? And if I try to hit him again, he'll say it and do it again.
"Oh, stop hitting me!"
Right? Finding the solar plexus, and if he needs to raise his kalabaw horns up into the chin,
"Stop hitting me!"
and he lifts right up, bam, right into there. He can swing his kalabaw horns sideways, and then the other way as well. Bam. And it really mostly looks like he's just trying to protect his head. As someone's trying to hit him, he just walks into it. Again, walks into it and smashes right in the chin, solar plexus or the chin. Bam, right in there. And that's how we deal with strikers on the schoolyard so that you don't get suspended from school. You look like, and you're actually defending yourself because you're putting on a shield, but your shield has spikes like a karabaw. Okay, so when I talk about work with what you've got, and then when you got better, do it better, right? You know, I got this amazing French press coffee maker for my camping trips with the students as we go to Yosemite and do a great big camping trip with the students. And when it came to me, it came with this big mesh filter right here, and it's reusable. I love things that are sturdy, that will last a long, long time. That's why I got it, because I can use it at home too, right? But when I started using it, I realized that the mesh was so wide, like the holes are so big that the coffee grinds would fill through if the grinds were too fine, and they're still a little bit fine. But why am I talking about this? As well, I broke another one. There was a glass French press from like Bodum, and it shattered. And I went, you know what? I need that. I need this part here, this filter part from the old one. So I cut it in a circle and stuffed it in there and made this coffee maker better, because now it's a better filter. It didn't come that way. I did that. I took something old, I took something broken, I took parts of it, and I made something new better by adding to it. I don't know if the coffee press makers are ever going to do that, but look at that. This is a beautiful thing. So now I put coffee in there, I put hot water in there, and mix it all up. Use my little chopstick to blend it up so it steeps for a little bit, and then I can press it in. And I get fresh coffee, and I'm not an alcoholic, but I drink coffee like one. Yeah, so I need that in my day. You press that down once it's there, and the filter works way better. So why am I talking about that? Well, I'm saying don't assume that what you have and what you know is perfect, right? There are pieces of it that are imperfect, so you have to question everything. You have to test it, and you have to challenge it. You have to try different things, and sometimes you got to break things in order to find out how to make it better. And that's my coffee French press.
I think this interview, that theme of family, like really strong.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
Right?
It's my one thing.
Yeah. That's the thing.
That's what it's all about. I started this school for my daughter because I started homeschooling her. I wasn't happy about LAUST, and I said, well, how am I going to have friends for her? So I started the martial arts program so that all her friends from school would join us, and they did. And they've been with us for 10 years.
Wow.
Since kindergarten, these kids. Now they're all black belts, are like juniors in high school this fall.
Wow.
Same kids, and it worked.
Wow.
Right? The same kids, that's why we go camping with them, right? So it was all about family. So now my son's friends are joining. Like we have most of the kids in our program in Culver City from his school.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's what it was all about. It's what it's still all about.
Cool. So
Cool, man.
good, man. That's a wrap on the questions.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Now I can go and pretend I know martial arts.